Hey, T Sippers. What it do? What it do? Take this earpiece out my ear. Hey, y'all. Y'all don't know how hard it was for me to come up on here tonight. We got Congress people resigning, a federal judge resigning. We got people getting special treatments in prison. Giuliano, all Trump, a hood, gang man getting out of prison. It's just way too much. Way too much. Before we get to shout out to Candace. Shout out to her. She doing it. She doing big things. They say she better than all the news people, all the CNN. Maybe I need to start there. They say she better than all of them. She running rings around them all. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them. Shout out to her. And they said she's doing it without a production team. It's just her and her small number of people. Shout out to her. All because she want to know who killed her friend. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Hey, Willie. Hey, Sapphire. Hey, Heavy Bear. Yeah, AunTeaFee said, Anyway, I'm not going to fuss. The shutdown is, oh, yeah. But is it really over? Is it? I have my opinion about it. They didn't get nothing from me for them to fold. There's still it was no deal on the health care. He just despises Obama, so he just hates that his name is on it. But the reality of it is that it's better than what's about to come. And I was talking to to Scooter last night, and he was asking me about Mandani, and he came on my page and saw Candace, and so we kind of got into that talk. And he was expressing, even as a college student, that he felt like they shouldn't have caved in. They didn't get nothing They didn't get nothing. A promise from liars, what is that? What is a promise from known liars? Hey, Miss Tom. What is that? So I was trying to explain to Scooter, that their plan is to depopulate. If they can't give you a cocktail in your arm, if they can't put cocktails in your food, in your lettuce, your vegetables, they can't spray cocktails in the air. They have tried several ways to eliminate a promise, to eliminate us. So a promise is not good enough. We need something concrete because they're known liars. And I said, and they're Zionists. So, and, their plan is the old people to expire, the sick people to not be able to afford their medicine, that it's already tainted. I mean, none of the prescriptions are for healing. They tell you to stay away from what's healing because it can interact with their tainted medicine. Oh, that blows my mind. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about it. If I start talking about it, y'all, it just fascinates me more and more now that you know their plan. And I was listening to a young lady. I hope she's getting better, but when I tried to tell her to get some magnesium, and the doctor told her, no, don't take magnesium. Well, magnesium is better than the prescription, but they don't make money off of that. So everything that they're doing is about making money off of us, taxing us, lining their pockets, using our money for tariffs. Now you want to offer $2,000. You're throwing that up in the air. What? You stole from us. You don't even want to give people SNAP. I don't get it. So no, I don't think they should have folded. They didn't get anything. They got played again. You had already took a stand to stand for something. So if you're going to stand for something, stay until you get something. You didn't get nothing. You didn't get nothing. And somebody had to start feeling sorry for Trump because he was getting popped and knocked all over the place. Every time he get hit, he hit us. But hell, 40 days in, if we was able to take them blows for 40 days, we good. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. And it got a promise. The people, the military and the federal workers get back pay. What? He's still playing with the snaps. And what? Obamacare. I would have rather them at least got that extended for a year. Because the reality of it is that it affects red, blue, black, white. It affects us all. And you haven't had them type premiums in how long? Yeah, but it's designed for you not to be able to afford it. We're not realizing that. You're not going to be able to afford it. And then they say this next, I guess it's going to be code 25. It's going to be 10 times worse than code 19. So if we can't afford to go to the doctor and all the natural supplements, they tell you not to take it. All the holistic God-given, they say, oh, no, don't take that. No, you can't. Then where's that going to leave you? They got you. They done brainwashed you into saying no natural herbs. Only time they recommended the natural herbs is when they did not have a way to make money off of a cocktail. Because they didn't have a cocktail. Because Trump let it go, the virus go, before they had a cocktail. He jumped the gun. So then they told you what natural supplements to take so that you could build your immune system. And once they got a cocktail where they can continue with the managed care to make money, then they said, stop taking it. We'll give you $150. Everybody. Yeah, they came up with all of these different mind trick games to get people to stop taking natural and go back to a cocktail with these spike proteins in it that they're now saying, "Oh my God, it's going to, it has it's like a ticking bomb. In a certain amount of years, it's time released, and it's going to shut your organs down." I mean, all this type of stuff, allegedly. Most people don't go to the hospital that much anyway. Then, when you do use it, your copays are high. No, I mean, I don't know. Well, where your copays were like $100 and some dollars, they're gonna be $2,000 and $3,000 now. And so remember, they closed down a lot of clinics and a lot of hospitals and stuff, and they did a lot of closing down. So where you gonna go? I'm just saying, they setting it up for it to be 10 times worse. Jobs is going away right now. They unemployment is high. They trying to speed down AI. That's going to also eliminate jobs, right? They say it's going to eliminate and create. Oh, okay. Well, why do they need to eliminate them? Whatever job that they are creating, they're going to be able to create this machine to do it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying. I just think they should have held out and got something. All they got is another lie. And they were plotting for another replacement. And then Mike Johnson had another representative that was supposed to be sworn in. That's Maga. So he's gonna offset the vote with Virginia. So it's still gonna stall the Epstein files. I mean, all of this was planned. I'm just saying. Let's hear what they talking about now before I jump into the Candace, baby. Because listen, they hating her. They calling her a cult now, and yeah, cause she getting close. She's nipping every last one of those excuses. She's nipping them at the knees. Scooter said, "You watching Candace Owens?" I said, "Yeah." She makes sense. I like listening and watching folk that make sense. He was shocked. Let's go.
Fringe conspiracy theories.
Yeah, hit the like button, please.
The Department of Justice in Trump 2.0 is now run exactly how Trump wanted it run in 1.0, by loyalists, people who are willing to embrace and act on unsubstantiated, in many instances, fringe conspiracy theories to pursue for investigation and prosecution Donald Trump's political enemies. As we have covered and discussed, a federal prosecutor in Florida is now pursuing long talked about charges of some, quote, grand conspiracy, that's their word for it, against Trump's adversaries. That prosecutor has issued more than 24 subpoenas up to last week. The targets include former FBI and CIA agents under the Obama administration. Many of them worked for other administrations as well. New York Times reports this, quote, "The Florida subpoenas seek documents or communications related to the intelligence community assessment from July 1st, 2016 through February 28th, 2017. Some of the people who have reviewed the subpoenas said they did not mention specific crimes being investigated. Most federal crimes have a 5-year statute of limitations, and offenses must be charged in a venue where the conduct occurred." Whether the subpoenas will lead to charges, much less convictions, is impossible to know for anybody. But merely creating a pretense of criminality, or an aura, of criminality around Trump foes by celebrating incremental prosecutorial moves is a trophy in itself to diehard Trump supporters who have said that naming and shaming targets is a legitimate aim of law enforcement. The advancement of this investigation now causing turmoil inside that office, the Southern District of Florida. MSNBC is reporting that the U.S. attorney there called a division-wide meeting this afternoon following the resignations of 2 prosecutors who were asked to take part in this vast conspiracy investigation into former intelligence and law enforcement officials. That's according to a source familiar with internal concerns there among career prosecutors. The source telling MSNBC this, quote, "Everyone is on pins and needles," referring to prosecutors who fear being asked to work on a case that President Trump has said should lead to the arrest of an expansive list of individuals, including former President Barack Obama and former CIA Director John Brennan. I want to bring into our coverage New York Times Justice Department reporter Glenn Thrush, whose byline is on a lot of that reporting. Also joining us, Puck News senior political columnist, MSNBC National Affairs analyst John
Hey,
Fallon, and
Reflections
former
with
acting
Kimberly.
assistant attorney general for national security at the Department of Justice, Mary McCord, is here. Glenn Thrush, I hate borrowing the words of grand conspiracy. That is what they're calling them, and your reporting makes that clear. But my sense is the way they talk about it on talk radio, and Mike Davis, a MAGA ally, talks about it on, I think it was Benny Johnson's podcast. This is where I first saw it publicly facing. It's clear that the target is former President Obama himself. Caroline Leavitt from the podium of the White House briefing room in late July also described a conspiracy directed from the highest levels of the Obama administration. How does that conspiracy allow for Trump to win twice?
That is that's a curveball there, but right at the end it kind of broke. I don't know. I mean, I think
like it's a really crappy conspiracy, right? So they all get in a
It's
skit,
crazy.
and they make
It's
a
crazy.
conspiracy, and at the end, Trump becomes president twice and destroys every institution they love. Like, what's the how are they? What?
It's kind of like watching every Mets season. But I mean, sorry about that. The pain is still
That's
present.
the
But no, look, I think like there is a goal
Him
here.
and every
It is really,
president
really,
and
if you
by
just think of this in terms of
selection.
outcome and don't necessarily get caught up in the
I don't
in the
understand.
tangle of the procedural stuff, the outcome is really, really simple from Trump's point of view. I want everyone to go through precisely what I went through. I want every person who works for me, who is subjected to an investigative process, to be exculpated, and not only that, to be valorized, right? So what does Trump really want? In the reporting, run up to the story in the reporting that we did, one of the things that folks really want is for Obama to get into the frame here. They want him to be an unindicted co-conspirator. I don't think necessarily it would result in criminal charges against Obama, but there is like a total tit for tat that he's going for. That Obama be labeled with the same label of criminality that Trump himself was.
Right.
But the resignations in Florida are just totally consistent with what we've seen around the country.
They are not the same.
In instances where Trump and the White House have tried to push through these prosecutions. The highest profile one, obviously, was the fiasco that occurred in the Eastern District of Virginia prior to James Comey's indictment. And what we report in this story is a subtler version of that. This case, the central part of this case that we have thus far seen subpoenas issued on in Florida involves John Brennan, the former CIA director, who Trump has been targeting for quite some time. David Metcalf, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Philadelphia, has been looking at this material on Brennan, really narrowly related to his actions in 2017, and had
Hold
not
on,
yet
it's saying
decided
that they just
what he was
passed.
going to do. The general presumption was
Hold on. They just passed something. A bill to reopen. I thought that was already passed. Y'all, they done drained me. I ain't gonna even lie. It's just so disgusting. It's like, how did we get here? How? Why is any of this mess okay? Y'all, please double tap the face of your screen. Please. Get the likes up.
When you download the Hardee's app and join My Rewards right now, buy 3 hand-breaded chicken tenders, get 3 free.
From the nation's capital, this is the National News Desk, America's News Now. good Monday evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and we begin with breaking news as we come on the air tonight. The Senate has just voted to end the longest government shutdown in American history. Let's get straight on over to Ryan Smith at the live desk with more on this short-term, Ryan, government funding bill and also what happens
Short
next.
term.
Yeah, tonight here at the live desk, we start live out at Capitol Hill tonight, where all the action was unfolding late tonight on the Senate floor, where a small band of Democrats voted with Republicans to, yes, move forward and finally reopen the federal government. That vote coming down to 60 to 40, happening within the hour here. The bill will keep the government funded through the end of January. Also late tonight, Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin putting forth an amendment to extend health care subsidies, the driving issue behind the shutdown, but that has been tabled. The bipartisan Senate deal must still pass the House. GOP leaders are hopeful it could pass as soon as Wednesday, all of course before heading to the president's desk.
The long national nightmare is almost coming to an end now. It really was a shutdown about nothing. I mean, what we're voting on is effectively exactly what we offered them several weeks back.
I mean, you had 8 Democrats who, for a variety of reasons, decided not to continue the fight. And needless to say, I think that was a terrible, terrible mistake. We had the American people on our side.
Absolutely.
We should have continued that fight. I think the Republicans would have yielded.
With the government inching closer to a potential solution here, it was the worst weekend for air traffic control staffing issues since the start of this shutdown. There were 146 staffing triggers reported from Friday morning through Sunday night. Now that means air traffic controllers had to alter their operations, all to keep America's airspace safe.
And the 8 senators who helped carve a path for the government to reopen are getting blowback, as you just heard from their own party tonight after breaking ranks to move forward on compromise legislation. The 7 Democrats and 1 independent include several former governors. None of them are running for re-election next year, while Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson praised the group by putting principle over personal politics. Some of the most prominent voices in the Democratic Party labeled the move as betrayal. The move, opposed by the 2 Democratic Party leaders, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, means an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies won't be guaranteed by the end of the year. But as Ryan just mentioned, a vote will be held in the coming weeks to determine its fate. The breaking ranks now causing seams to be torn within the Democratic Party. Several media members here on social media, they're reacting to those who crossed out lines, but are also lashing out on their own party's leadership to let.
Okay, let me get back to where I was. Hold on. What did they get? Nothing. What did they get?
Breaking news right here on CBS News 24/7. Moments ago, Senate lawmakers voted to end the government shutdown. I'm Elizabeth Cook, and we are live right here on CBS News 24/7. The funding impasse has dragged on for 41 days now, the longest shutdown in American history. Just moments ago, the Senate secured enough votes to approve a bill to fund the federal government.
Bill as amended is passed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table.
Let's bring in CBS News political reporter Hunter Woodall, who joins us live over the phone. Hunter, thank you for being with us. 8 Democrats sided with Republicans on this vote, all of which are either planning to retire or not
planning to retire.
Next year. What have these senators said about their decision? They're getting a lot of criticism from their own party.
Is Stump won't make
That's
it
the notable thing here as we've watched how Democrats responded in the last 24 hours. Obviously a lot of pushback from Democrats amongst the party base and some rank-and-file Democrats, especially in the U.S. House, criticizing this group of Senate Democrats for moving forward and helping Republicans try and reopen the government. But honestly, when you look at their statements, I mean, you look at what they've said to reporters and to the public, since their votes last night that essentially started this process of overcoming the hurdles to try and reopen the government, it's clear that the impact that the shutdown was having on their communities, on their respective states, is being deeply felt. And they essentially felt like compromise they were able to get was the best they're going to get, especially as the shutdown continued to stretch on and on.
Now, part of the compromise, Hunter, Republicans agreed to hold a vote by mid-December to extend the health care tax credits. Now, these were central to the Democrats' demands. What can you tell us about that decision?
That's the most contentious part here, because when you look at how the base of the Democratic Party, how House members and some senators are responding to this compromise, the idea that the most that Democrats were able to get out of any compromise was that there will be a vote next month. That's not sitting very well with a lot of Democrats.
No.
Because obviously they have made affordability central to their argument for change in Washington. They have made, health care essential to their argument for what they want to see people be able to have in this country. This is not going to be enough for some Democrats, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they respond to this moving forward, because there's no guarantee now that these issues and concerns about the Affordable Care Act tax credits will actually be resolved even if they get the December vote. Because let's say it even passes the Senate, you still have the GOP-held House, and you still have President Donald Trump, and it's unclear how they would act on this.
Hunter, is this vote seen as a win for either party, considering the immense pain it's caused so many Americans?
Well, I think especially being on Capitol Hill earlier today, getting a sense of where things stood, I think obviously nobody feels great about how this has gone, the tensions that have obviously been shown here, and just the extreme partisanship that has been a hallmark of this shutdown. And when you talk about, how shutdowns impact every state, has constituents that have been impacted by what's going on, it's being felt, and especially as you get closer and closer to the holidays, the idea that travel could be impacted for folks moving across the country, going across the country to visit loved ones. I think it was a contentious time, and there's clear thought that hopefully now this shutdown will be put behind them. But I will note this government funding bill is, in many ways, is a short-term patch. It essentially, the funding goes through January 30th of 2026. There's nothing to say by that time we could still, fall into another government shutdown after that. It's a short-term patch, and that's going to be one of the things that we're watching moving forward.
Congressman Ro Khanna was on the takeout earlier today, Hunter, and he was asked about Senator Chuck Schumer's future. I want to listen to that soundbite there and get your reaction on the other side.
It's time for him to be replaced. He is not meeting the moment. He's out of touch with where the party's base is.
Hunter, what are you hearing from Democrats about Chuck Schumer's future with the party?
This is the fascinating thing about what we've seen. Obviously,
I don't know.
Chuck Schumer is a Senate Democratic leader. He has
I don't know, Ms. Tom. I don't believe nothing.
Tenure so far since he essentially started leading the chamber after Harry Reid retired a few years back. And when you look at the contention here, obviously, I don't think Senator Schumer is going to be losing much sleep about a California House Democrat, Ro Khanna, saying, hey, he should step aside. But it does tell you where the Democratic Party may be headed. Because, again, this is a compromise. This is a compromise that Chuck Schumer didn't even vote for. But the idea that this is happening under Chuck Schumer's watch is enough to alarm Democrats, not just the Democratic base, which may have been unwilling to accept any kind of compromise, but also Democratic rank-and-file members like Congressman Khanna, like other members of Congress we're already seeing being very critical on the U.S. House side of what the Senate and those breakaway Senate Dems have done. It does give you a sign that for a party that is kind of torn between progressives and the moderates right now, this is a tension that is not going away, and it might even get more vocal in the coming months and years.
And I'm curious, the next step with this now heads to the House.
Well, it was supposed to a couple of times, and then there was an appeal. So
we obviously had a signal earlier today.
He still has that appeal process that the judge waited until 8-9 o'clock Friday. So the appeal and the government shutdown is two different things. Remember, the black judge gave him a stay on the appeal, temporary stay. That has nothing to do with the government shutdown. And he was still holding out, $3 billion?
This plan, encouraging about, hey, he's going to bring back the House after a long time of the House being away to vote on this plan. Now, I will note House Republicans tend to not be very happy with short-term funding measures. They may feel a little bit better about this because there are some full-year appropriations bills, some full-year bills in this package, and that may help some concerns amongst rank-and-file Republicans. But seeing how Democrats are reacting so far, is it going to be a bipartisan bill? Is it going to be a bipartisan vote in the House, or is it going to be strictly partisan? If that's the case, it's a very narrow House GOP majority. Speaker Mike Johnson would likely have to keep his House Republicans together to pass that. Or is he going to get help from Democrats to get this across the finish line? The signals we were getting earlier today, obviously, is that President Trump is supportive of this, supportive of the work that the Senate's done here. So really, the question now is how the House fares for this when it comes back later this week.
Hunter Woodall, thank you so much. Well, if you're just joining us, breaking news, the Senate has officially passed a bill to end the government shutdown, the longest in American history. Just moments ago, Senate lawmakers voted 60-40 to approve a measure to fund the federal government. The bill still needs to be approved by the House. And
so it's still some ways to go.
Eventually signed by President Trump.
Ugh. This is just the worst mess ever. Let's get to Candace, y'all. I don't know what to say to you people. No disrespect. But if you cannot get the likes up, please vacate. Please. Please. Oh, yeah, I want to hear about the judge. I want to hear about the judge resigning. Why the judge resigning? Why is the judge, federal judge at that? People sick of it.
Judge, so that all of you understand the inside baseball of what's happening not only in the law, but also in politics. And Norm, we have a special guest today. Who is it?
Katie, our special guest today is Judge Mark Wolf, one of our nation's most distinguished federal judges. And he's just left the federal bench in Boston, where he formerly served as chief judge, and has written an article in The Atlantic, Why I Am Resigning, that is a must-read for every American. We're so honored that his first appearance on independent media is here on Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club. Welcome, Judge Wolf.
Thank you, Ambassador. Nice to see you again. And actually, very nice to have not only the opportunity to speak to you, but to some of the American people as well, because as we can discuss if you want, that's a meaningful part of my motive for leaving the bench.
Judge, since we're talking about your reasons for leaving the bench, tell us, why did you resign, and what did you write in this terrific Atlantic article on why I am resigning?
Well, in an effort to be more pithy than I usually am, I'll say, at least ever since I was an assistant to the Attorney General of the United States after Watergate, I've been dedicated to striving to make the ideal of equal justice under law
equal
a
justice.
Reality. Equal justice. I left the bench because what I've seen this year is the partisan abuse of the Department of Justice, which is utterly inconsistent with the ideal of equal justice under law. I've seen the failure to investigate what may be criminal corruption, because the Department of Justice's capacity to do that has been substantially diminished and dismantled. The FBI's public corruption unit's been abolished. The public integrity section of the Department of Justice has been eviscerated. No longer has 30 lawyers, it has 5, and they're not allowed to do investigations of potential election fraud, and the president has given directions to prosecute his perceived political enemies, and it seems that his friends and allies, donors, are not being investigated at all. And this is completely inconsistent with the fundamental principle of equal justice under law that's etched in the entry of the United States Supreme Court. And if I have the power to be heard, along with many others, I'm hopeful that we can protect the rule of law and U.S. democracy, which I think is now under an existential threat of being destroyed.
Judge, I think people need to understand the import of your resignation. Not only is it from somebody who has served honorably for decades in the role as an esteemed jurist, but as judges, it is a requirement that you don't express an opinion in any way about what's happening politically, right? You're supposed to sit on the bench, call balls and strikes, and apply the facts to the law as your role. So why did you feel so compelled to have to actually step away from the auspices or from the office to be able to express your frustration, your concerns about the existential threat to democracy that's being posed to the weaponization of the judicial system at this time?
There is a code of conduct for judges that says if you're a sitting judge, you can't write or say anything that would call your impartiality into question. Mm-hmm. But given this existential threat to democracy, given the fact that my successor was appointed in 2013 or 14 when I became a senior judge, the fact that my colleagues, I think, are performing admirably in Massachusetts and around the country in the trial courts, the federal district courts, often having their decisions quickly, in effect, reversed by the Supreme Court on its emergency or shadow docket. Seeing everything that I've devoted my professional life to being damaged, if not destroyed, I heard from a number of people that I respect, including former judges, urging me to join them. I'm not a Lone Ranger, and work with other individuals and organizations to try to protect and preserve the rule of law and democracy in the United States, which I think is under an existential threat.
Judge, two last questions for you. You wrote in your Atlantic article that judges, while sitting on the bench, can't speak for themselves, so that you would fill that void. Can you explain that idea? And second question, you've been pretty outspoken that you're leaving the bench to fight for democracy. You've already emerged as a leader. Are you scared?
To start with the last question, I recognize that there are risks. There have been risks while I've been a judge. There have been threats, and at times, and I think there are risks. But I feel very fortunate. I'm going to be 79 years old in a couple weeks. This country has been very good to my family and me. My grandmother crossed Russia in a covered wagon as an orphan, teenage orphan. My father was admitted to Harvard and couldn't afford to go during the Great Depression. I've had an excellent education. I've had opportunities for very fulfilling roles to perform public service. And I would like to try to assure that my grandchildren and everybody else's grandchildren in this country and indeed around the world has the same opportunities for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that I've had. And it's the promise of America, inspires people around the world, as you know, Ambassador. And I would like to see that preserve for future generations. I think one thing that's very important, and the reason I feel compelled to speak out is, as famous Judge Learned Hand said in about 1944 in his naturalization talk called The Spirit of Liberty, we actually depend too much on laws and constitutions in the United States. They're meaningless if the American people have lost the spirit of liberty, the love of liberty. And, you know, we saw this in the Nixon tapes case, which is my formative experience, when the Supreme Court ordered Richard Nixon to turn over the tapes he secretly made in the Oval Office. He could have refused in 1974, but he knew the American people would not tolerate that disobedience to a Supreme Court order. He turned over the tapes. They had incriminating information about himself and his colleagues, and he resigned. I'm uncertain about what will happen today. Maybe I would say, be more precise, what is happening today. And I think it's very important that the American people, and not just those who will listen, watch the contrarian, but people across a wide spectrum of opinions and inclinations, hear about the facts, the true facts. In the courthouse that I've just left, you walk in, it's a beautiful courthouse, and etched in the rotunda is Louis Brandeis's statement, "Justice is but truth in action."
Oh, no.
And there is such a thing as real truth, real facts.
Hey, naturally.
Not alternate facts,
Nolan.
not fake news, real facts. And I don't have an exaggerated view of my potential influence, but it's my hope that joining with many other individuals and organizations, that I can contribute to the American public having accurate information and sustaining the spirit of liberty that has made this country the world's best hope for generations.
Judge Wolf, I know I don't speak on only my behalf, but on behalf of all Americans, regardless of party affiliation, that to have somebody like you fighting on the side of democracy is a priceless asset. The ability for you to explain the nuances of the law and perhaps kind of the inside baseball of why decisions are being made the way that they are is going to be a true weapon to achieve the justice that we all seek and deserve. I know that we are strong on our own, but stronger when we're united. So I thank you, sir, for your continued service as you've left the bench in order to join me and Norm and others in the fight. Norm, some last words?
Very grateful. You'll get to know Judge Wolf, friends across the country, as he makes his voice heard, as he says, on behalf of the judge.
A lot going on, y'all. A lot is going on, and everybody not going down with it. Hold on. Judges is leaving. Baby. It's bad. It's bad. What are you talking about? I'm trying to look. Oh, girl, getting special privileges in the late night meltdown. Mega Pass. Let's check it out. She getting doggies.
So it's a pretty extraordinary situation. Of course,
she getting dog
special
privileges.
Treatment in prison and actively preparing a commutation application. In a letter from Congressman Jamie Raskin addressed directly to President Trump, a whistleblower is telling the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee that Jeffrey Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell is getting special treatment in prison and actively preparing a commutation application. In a letter from Congressman Jamie Raskin addressed directly to President Trump,
Raskin says the whistleblower at Maxwell's new prison camp alleges that her extraordinary treatment includes customized meals delivered directly to her,
Uber,
visits to the prison exercise area after hours with a prison guard
Uber
escort,
Eats,
and even access to
DoorDash to prison. Y'all listening? Oh, that's see you next Tuesday. What? Another look over here, ploy to get our attention off the flyers. What?
It's customized meals.
I'm confused. Ooh. Come on, y'all. I don't know. Come on.
Delivered directly to her. Visits to the prison exercise area after hours with a prison guard escort, and even access to a service dog in training to play with. This whistleblower
So she can
also claims that one
Uber
top prison
Eats,
official complained that
special
he was
showers,
having to be
and a dog to play with.
The new prison camp alleges that her extraordinary treatment includes customized meals delivered directly to her, visits to the prison exercise area after hours with a prison guard escort, and even access to a service dog in training to play with. This whistleblower also claims that one top prison official complained that he is, quote, sick of having to be Maxwell's B-word. I'll note that CNN has not independently verified the whistleblower's claims, but my source on this tonight is Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Don't want to be her what? What word? Hold on, I got something.
What else they had to say to you?
They don't want to be her what?
Well, the whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell
claims, but my source on this tonight is Congressman Jamie Raskin. And Congressman, on this whistleblower, I think a lot of people want to know. This whistleblower also claims that one top prison official complained that he is, quote, sick of having to be Maxwell's B-word. I'll note that CNN has not independently verified the whistleblower's
So she got folk acting like they her maid.
Is Congressman Jamie Raskin. And Congressman, on this whistleblower, I think a lot of people want to know what else they had to say to you.
Well, the whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell is just in a completely different category than every other prisoner. She gets essentially room service behind bars. She can use the shower. She can use the gym whenever she wants to. She gets special treatment there. And unlike other prisoners
room service,
who have to communicate with people outside of the prison through the unreliable and very slow mail system, she's actually getting messages sent through the warden to the people that she wants to communicate with, and the warden is actually offering her the opportunity to communicate on legal matters with people outside of the prison through the warden. So it's a pretty extraordinary situation. Of course, her presence in that camp facility itself is completely astonishing, given that they had never had a sex offender before, and sex offenders were not allowed in that camp. But she was allowed in, and she got in pretty much on an overnight basis after she met with Todd Blanche. She was subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee on July 23rd after a vote on July 22nd, and it was on July 24th that Todd Blanche, who had been Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, now working for the DOJ as the #2 person, went over to meet her, not in order to find out what she knew in terms of getting other people to be investigated who were involved in the $1.5 billion international child sex ring, but rather to find out what she would say about Donald Trump. And he pronounced himself satisfied when, she said that she had never seen Donald Trump in any compromising position with young women or girls. In fact, she'd never seen Epstein in some compromising position with underage women or girls. So anyway, he liked what he heard, and then suddenly she got this transfer.
And now she gets Uber Eats,
about that, and Todd Blanche.
DoorDash.
Can I ask you on the whistleblower? Did you
and a
speak
dog.
to this person directly?
Well, I don't want to get into any more depth on it, but I would say this is a person who is in a position to know.
Thank you for the flowers.
To us.
And do you think there's more to come out about how she's being treated, or the treatment she's getting, I should say?
I do. Well, one of the other things that came up was that Ghislaine Maxwell is actively seeking a commutation, a pardon. from the president right now. And I learned from somebody else, a Republican, that there's a lot of chatter that, you know, he just pardoned 77 people who participated in different ways in his
77
attempt to lie about the 2020
I see your
presidential
cup,
election,
girl.
his attempt to overthrow the election. And all of that, some people are seeing as a smokescreen to get people talking about that, because none of these people are facing federal prosecution. They've already been disbarred or faced other kinds of charges. But all of that is really meant to distract people from what may be a pardon forthcoming for Ghislaine Maxwell.
With us now is Jennifer Freeman. She's an attorney
overnight
who represents some of the survivors
in the midnight hour while we were asleep.
First of all, we should note CNN has not been able to independently confirm or deny the allegations. But Jennifer, what is your reaction to what Congressman Raskin is saying?
Y'all get the likes up.
I've heard similar reports. I've also heard, and these are just, I can't confirm them either, reports that someone did complain about this preferential treatment and was promptly transferred to a higher security prison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true, but that is what's being reported.
Raskin's letter also alleges that Maxwell is working on a commutation application to get out of prison. She would apply, she would send this to Trump, presumably. Its exact contents and whether it's been submitted, that was not immediately clear. What's your message to President Trump about such a commutation application if he was being asked to commute her sentence? And how would your clients react if such a thing were to happen?
That would be very distressing, disgraceful, and upsetting. If there's any effort to move forward with a suggestion of pardon or commutation. And it also doesn't make sense, Jake, because the grounds for commutation are typically things like wrongful conviction. Well, that's...
Listen, they are still trafficking. They are still working. Money is still being deposited in his account. They need her to be a part of operations and management and madam, whatever her job was when it comes to this new world stuff. They are still trafficking. Yeah, there's still work to do.
Not going to apply here. A jury of her peers held she was a sex trafficker. Another example would be rehabilitation. That is also not going to be possible since she has not expressed any remorse.
None.
Another example would be that it's a nonviolent crime, and that doesn't seem to apply either. In fact, I took a look at the particular form that you'd have to fill out, your attorney would have to fill out. And one of the questions on the form was, what was your role in the offense? And do not omit facts or minimize your role. And do you accept responsibility for your criminal conduct?
No.
So she's going to have to, if she goes forward with this, she's going to have to address those issues.
Jamie Raskin, Congressman Raskin's letter also demands that President Trump make Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who before he was in government, he was a former personal attorney for Trump, available for a public hearing. Would you like to see that? Would you like Todd Blanche to sit for a public hearing?
I think that would be appropriate, given that he did interview her with very little knowledge, prior knowledge about the case. I think that would be fully appropriate to do that. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I think it would be a good move.
What do your clients think is going on here? I mean,
what difference does it make? I mean, because what the clients and the people and the taxpayers think, it don't matter. Y'all are going to allow him to do what he's doing. A lot of people are involved with this mess or had some type of knowledge of it, or name is mentioned in the Epstein files. So everybody is protecting everybody and saying, and I do mean the victims and your kids if they happen to get a hold of them.
Ghislaine Maxwell, and then she gets transferred to a minimum security prison.
Every day.
There are all these accounts that she's treated unusually well, and anybody who complains about it is punished. Now she's talking about.
Oh yeah.
What
He's still. That's why the banks are involved, because and the banks are being sued by some of the alleged victims because he was still getting paid. He's still working. The operation is still going forward. So when you start talking about the Rothschilds, 1948, the Israel, the Zionist group, CIA, intelligence, the MT, Ultra, mind manipulating everybody. I mean, I don't know what we would call it if people or Christians are saying Israel, oh, it's still biblical, and what's going on and the having Israel's back don't have nothing to do with the Bible. So they have mind manipulated. I want to say another word that starts with an F. People into really thinking that this is about God's word. It's spiritual because you have a cult that is trying to alter God's word, and it becomes a spiritual warfare between good and evil. But this is not about Jacob, Israel, and Esau. No, that's not what this is about. So that means that Christians and whoever else have been mind-upped into thinking that this is about the Bible, and it's not. It's about stealing land. This is about a new world order. This is about eliminating the people who are here now. And it's about being able to traffic, torture, ape, and steal, and rebuild on land. Israel, the state, and Gaza, and whoever else land they try to take over. Yeah, you got to remember, Christians, we need you to vote. This will be the last time. The man is not planning on leaving. Now, he may want to leave now that he done opened up that asbestos. Yeah, he done hit that east end, and all of that stuff is in the air, becoming a hazard to not just them that's in the White House, but in the area. You know, people have dealt in Texas, I know, have dealt with that asbestos stuff and lead poisoning and all that type of stuff, especially in West Dallas. And I think that it was a Maceo Smith school a long time ago. Yeah, so we know what that would do. And it would lead to all type of medical diseases. And let me move on forward, man, because this is just crazy to me. It is mind-blowing. And they are okay with it. Don't he have a bag on his head?
What do the survivors think? Not about how awful it is, because I know they think that, but why this is happening.
They are deeply concerned that this is more of the cover-up of the Epstein files, which have not been released. Hopefully we're getting closer to that.
No,
That's
because they
another
have a new
aspect of the
elect.
cover-up.
That's
I did
Maga.
ask some clients today if you'd like to hear their comments on this development or possible development of the commutation. I'd like to read a few of them if that's okay.
Sure.
Here's Annie Farmer, who testified at the trial, at Maxwell's trial. Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker and felon who's been accused of lying under oath. Her latest attempt to escape accountability makes it clear she has no remorse for her crimes. Any special legal treatment for her could not only be profoundly insulting, it would be downright dangerous for survivors. Liz Stein, who I know you've interviewed, said, as survivors, justice is the one measure of truth we have left. Ghislaine Maxwell was tried, convicted, and sentenced in a court of law, and her sentence should be upheld like anyone else's. So not happy. They're not happy, and they're very concerned that while the trajectory that they see developing in the public eye,
I just don't understand the logic of people. I don't know what they thought. I'm gonna have to move on because this is making my head hurt. I don't know what they thought. I don't know how a convicted felon could be in office to run for president and win. These good law-abiding people and always wanted to be about a particular race of people should go to jail, should be locked up. Those conditions are acceptable when it's not them. Yeah, and when they go, it's inhumane. No one should have to be in those conditions. But it's okay.
Footage.
It's okay.
At Timpano.
Hold on. It's okay when it's black people, Hispanics, anybody other than them. It's been them same conditions. Oh, it was so inhumane. No one should have been living in those conditions. But it's been like that. What is the difference now? Yeah, I can't.
All right, you guys happy?
I need a minute. I need a minute. And it look like y'all need a minute too. I need for y'all to hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe, join the membership. And if you can't do it, I will end the live. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Get the likes up. I don't feel like playing. And the likes have not went up. Do I need to make it members only? Double tap the face of your screen. 3 dots at the top right. Hit that. It'll take you to the like button. And if you can't do that, then hit your arrow out. That works too. You can arrow out. Leave us to sip our tea together.
Bipolar 1 can overwhelm your mind.
Okay, y'all playing with the wrong person today.
And on
Monday, saying that there were a lot of
Just so we cool, just so we clear. I said double tap. Now, if y'all have a problem with that and I click it over to members only and everybody gets kicked out, don't blame me. If I think that I just want to end it right in the middle of something real good, don't be mad at me. Be mad at yourself. I don't understand why y'all just don't leave. I don't get that. You don't like it over here, leave.
the Charlie Kirk murder has, like everything like this in modern times now, led to a plethora of conspiracy theories raging around. And I had Rob O'Neill, who was a Navy SEAL who killed Osama bin Laden on last week, on Monday, saying that there were a lot of questions he felt just didn't quite stack up with it. Everything you've seen about the shooter, what happened, the fact it was a single bullet, the way he was able to put together his gun, dismantle his gun, get away, and so on, the weird text messaging with his transitioning boyfriend and so on. What do you make of it all? Do you think there are unanswered questions with this? Does it make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely there are unanswered questions. It doesn't make sense to me completely, and I think that's why there are conspiracy theories that are popping up around the shooting. The problem is that, like so much of what happens in the real world, there are areas that are protected, areas of information that are not available to the public, so the public doesn't get a full picture. You were just talking about the emergence of new media. Part of the unexpected or possibly unproductive side effect of that new media is that we now know more of what we don't know.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, when we didn't know, we didn't even realize we had a gap of information.
What is the stuff, when you look at that shooting, what's the stuff where you, with your former CIA hat on, go, that's a bit weird?
So first of all, the fact that there's really no significant new information since about September 19th, that's fucking weird, man. Right? Like, how is this so significant that we're having national days of silence for Charlie Kirk? How is it so significant that it's making International Media Day after day, but we can't get new information? We still don't know what the motive was.
Right.
We're having people like the transgender roommate / lover disappear, and nobody's talking to him, and there doesn't seem to be a large manhunt.
No, I don't think it's an autopsy report yet. I don't think we've had an autopsy.
Exactly. So this is information that doesn't seem unreasonable to share, and yet it's not being shared. So the question becomes why. There's lots of legitimate reasons why it wouldn't be shared yet, but that's not good enough for us with our current appetite.
From a technical point of view about the shooting itself, a 22-year-old who's not military trained to be able to get up on that roof, put together a gun, then dismantle it, fire off one shot with a bolt-action rifle that belonged to his grandfather, reportedly, and get away, but to be able to assassinate somebody in that clinical manner, does that seem likely, or is there something we don't know about what this kid was doing before all this?
We look at everything in intelligence through a lens of probability. Anything is a possibility, but what are the probabilities that it played out the way that we're being told? So when I think of his age, and I think about the fact that he grew up in a hunting family, and I think about the fact that he was familiar with that particular weapon, he was familiar with the campus. He had what we call the advantage of area familiarity, area fam. He had all of those benefits that Charlie and Charlie's team did not have. Plus, of course, he had the element of surprise on his side. But when it comes to the technical elements of being able to handle that weapon, I tend to agree more with Rob. It doesn't make sense. Unless he spent hours in premeditation assembling and disassembling his gun, he already had his ingress and his egress route planned. He already knew where he was going to stash the weapon. He had a plan to succeed. His dad is the reason his plan to disappear ultimately didn't succeed. And that was obviously a variable he didn't account for. So is it possible that he prepared to the extent that he needed to prepare to run such an effective operation? Yeah, it's possible, but is it probable that he did it alone? It's not really probable that one 22-year-old would be able to figure all of that out.
And to fire one shot and be successful in your mission.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, you can see that he hadn't trained for the shot distance, because while he did shoot Charlie in a fatal location, it's unlikely he was aiming for that specific location. So there are certain elements that highlight he was amateur as a professional killer. A Navy SEAL like Rob wouldn't make a mistake like that. Wouldn't see that tumble and not predict it.
Right. I mean, Rob had a lot of questions, but one of which was just the amount of time it took him, like you said, to assemble and disassemble. He said he didn't think he could do it in the time that they believed this boy did it. And it's interesting because the only equivalent kind of story in the last few years where there are even more unanswered questions is the young person who has tried to assassinate Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
From a similar route, from a similar distance, about whom we seem to know absolutely nothing. I mean, even the guy on the golf course, we know a bit more because he defended himself and everything else. But that original shooter remains just so weird. Like, this kid had no digital footprint, nothing. From a CIA point of view, when you encounter that, where someone tries to assassinate the President of the United States or a very high-profile figure, and when you dig into it, for a young person to have no digital footprint whatsoever, that to me is very, very odd.
Absolutely. There's hidden information there, without a doubt. It's funny, my mind worked very similar to yours, Piers, when I started to research the elements that made up the Charlie Kirk assassination. I immediately was triggered to look back at Thomas Crooks, the one who tried to kill Donald Trump when he was on the campaign in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The parallels are very, very powerful, very humbling, right? You're talking about similar age groups. You're talking about high levels of intelligence. You're talking about a level of emotional IQ that made them actually...
They're so similar. They have the same security guard there. The same security guy who grabbed his ear and played with his shades and did the arm signal. He the same one that was right there when Trump allegedly got shot at. I mean, that ear's still there. I just, I wonder why Charlie neck ain't still there. I mean, what we doing? Both of them looked a little staged. How did his ear grow back? I mean, is Charlie gonna pop out one day and say, surprise? What are we doing? It's just crazy. Let's get to Candace. Yeah, because, yeah.
Happy Monday, and is everybody okay?
Nope.
I just want to check in to see if everybody's feeling okay, because there are a lot of people online who are coming undone.
Yeah.
What is it about the Charlie Kirk investigation? What is it about Charlie Kirk's assassination that is causing so much panic? They're saying I faked the text messages again, the ones I showed regarding Ben Shapiro. They got AI analysis. These are fake. They're sending experts, quote unquote experts, out to diagnose me at my show, and they've decided we're a cult, okay? Over the weekend, Grok, literally the AI robot, crashed out. He crashed out. He couldn't keep up with the lies about me. And so then he stated, the robot on top of a trend, that Candace Owens has accused Marcus Hale of murdering Charlie Kirk this past October. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to say that it's kind of weird how the only people that seem to believe the Fed story are Zionists, and they demand that we accept the Fed story, and their panic is making me think that we're getting closer to something, and that something is pretty big.
Absolutely.
It's going to imply a lot of people. I don't know. Today I'm going to tell you guys about a particular person who is connected to Charlie Kirk and January 6th. So welcome back to Candace.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so something that I want to say right at the top here before we get further into the Charlie Kirk story and speaking about January 6th and how somehow that's connected. There's something I learned that's bothering me. I'm just going to put it out there, see if it bothers you as well. But I learned via tips that The feds immediately seized the footage at Timpanogos Hospital. Okay, Timpanogos Hospital, remember, this is the hospital that it was quite strange that they moved to take Charlie to because it was further and also less equipped than UV Hospital. Like, it was like UV was a trauma 1 and Timpanogos was trauma 3, and a bunch of people said very strange that they took him here. And then it got strange because we started hearing from other people that he was definitely at UV Hospital. It was very weird. Anyways, I'd like to add to that by saying that on the day that Charlie was shot, for whatever reason, Kash Patel injects himself into it, the feds seized all of the footage at the hospital that Charlie was brought to at Timpanogos. That doesn't make sense to me. Nothing makes sense to me in this whole story, so this is just kind of the icing on, on the top here. Not even the icing on the top, but why would they move to seize that footage? How is that going to help their investigation? What's happening inside of Timpanogos, how is that going to help their investigation, their immediate boots on the ground investigation into who shot Charlie Kirk? They're on a manhunt. Why are they going, okay, let's at first grab the footage at Timpanogos? Does that make sense? Were you worried? Did a nurse call 911 and say, oh, a guy just ran in here with a gun and you need to seize the footage because that's going to help you track him down? If that didn't happen, why are you seizing that footage? I don't know. With everything that is going on, and I would say almost the lack of information that we have at Timpanogos, not a single person who captured them pulling up, nothing, despite the fact that there were news cameras outside waiting, oddly from like a New York news channel. We have not seen anything regarding that we can build in competently on our timeline that would let us know what time in particular Charlie arrived at the hospital. And I feel like something's amiss if the feds move to grab the footage inside of the hospital immediately and outside of the hospital immediately. So just putting it out there. If you maybe were somebody who has footage and saw that black SUV pull up at the hospital, please get that to us at moretips@CandaceOwens.com because it's starting to bother me. Something there is starting to feel amiss. Everything's amiss.
The Thanksgiving turkey sub is back. Just saying it makes me feel warm and happy. So if you have a craving for a hearty meal that only premium carved turkey, cranberries.
Anyway, there also happens to be another interesting constellation that's building here because, as I said at the top, there is something about this investigation into Charlie Kirk and who assassinated him that is causing extremely powerful people to panic. A network of powerful people. And by powerful people, I mean the feds, okay? I don't know about you, but I'm starting to wonder if every major publicly traumatizing event may have actually just been organized by the feds. And rather than blaming themselves, the strategy that they always employ is to get out a narrative,
Okay, I'm going to pause, y'all, for y'all to get the likes up. I need about 50, 60 likes real quick. All right. Hey, Mimi. Let's go. Okay, I'm about to switch over to members only. Yeah, I'm gonna switch over to members only. And then if that don't get the likes up, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it and watch it myself. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You'll be able to yeah. Yeah, this is not fair to me. I know it's not fair to you, but it definitely is not fair to me. And for the number of people that be in here that will not hit the like button, it's just totally unacceptable.
Sloppy narrative like we saw this time with the Charlie Kirk assassination. That is one thing that I will say is so amazing. The only thing that has been amazing about the Charlie Kirk assassination is that it has brought the left and the right together. And what I mean by that is typically we're ready to take the Fed slop. This time it was the messages, obviously, and they're like, oh, my dad's MAGA. He was MAGA-ing too hard. And the left was supposed to go, see, it's his dad's fault. MAGA's bad. And then the right was supposed to go, look, he trans person bad. This time, though, we all went, this is too evil. It feels orchestrated. And do you guys always do this? Like, is this what you guys do? That definitely, now that I'm reflecting, and I am including myself in this, that was kind of my old vibe, left or right. That was definitely the vibe of January 6th, right? We all took the bait, just own it. Okay, if you're a lefty, own it. You were like, MAGA is bad. If you're on the right, own it. We were like, the left is bad. They're overthrowing an election. We did it. On January 6th, 2020, I can tell you where I was. I was 9 months pregnant, my first child, and I was super MAGA at this time. I would have definitively gone to this Stop the Steal rally, but I was just too pregnant to go. And I was living in DC, so it was just down the street from me. And I reflect on that and I think, wow, that saved me. Because I could have been swept up in what happened on January 6th. I could have been there. We all know how the story goes. Trump hosts this speech, he has this rally, and then afterward, people, quote unquote, storm the Capitol, break through the barriers, and there's an insurrection, and CNN is showing these clips and the footage. And it's funny for me, especially because I was right up the road. And as a resident of DC, literally living there. And I was thinking how strange it was. I was sitting on the couch with my husband, and we start getting all these phone calls, like from my sisters and family members asking if we're okay. And we didn't have the news on, and we're like, yeah, we're okay. So strange that you're calling. We don't even hear any noise. And it was actually the first time that there was peace in DC, meaning it was the summer of BLM riots. So it was strange that we never got called when people's cars were getting smashed and things were being burned to the ground. But suddenly we were getting phone calls because the media was there, you know, right there. MAGA's gone too far, and they were showing all of this footage, and it was out of place, right? Now, I knew instantly, as a DC resident, that the feds were involved because of the pipe bombs. That was it. I knew they were involved when I heard that pipe bombs were mysteriously dropped off the night before at the DNC headquarters, RNC headquarters. And we just don't know who did that, because I live there, and it's the Capitol. So every square inch there's a camera. You just can't do that. You can't just get away from being a couple of blocks away from the White House and dropping off pipe bombs, right? Anyways, this weekend, after 5 long years, finally the person, and I'll say allegedly, because I guess we're gonna have to wait for the feds to dispute this, but the person responsible for dropping off those pipe bombs was revealed to be a Fed. more specifically, a 31-year-old woman and a United States Capitol police officer named Shawnee Ray Kirkuff, right? A reporter named Steve Baker.
A whole female. Wow. January 6th, pipe bomber. Oh, wow. How is she tied into Charlie Kirk? Let's go.
Which deserves all of the credit on this amazing discovery. And I'm going to let you listen to Glenn Beck, who is interviewing Steve Baker, to tell you about how he came across this footage and how that went down.
When I stumbled on what I stumbled on, and
Wow.
as I said, I've been pulling these threads for years, and I pulled one last Wednesday, 2 weeks ago today, rather. And when I pulled this thread, I was so shocked by what I saw, I immediately took it to a source in one of the most important, highest level investigative federal agencies in the country. I immediately took it to our sources there, and I said, you have to see this. After they looked at it for about 2 hours, the response that I got back was, holy F. And then the follow-up response was, she's one of us.
And when you find out the position, I mean, this is going to lead, it's not just this one person. This now will implicate so many people at the highest levels that had to have known because of what happened after January 6th. I mean, it's I mean, how big does this net get?
How big does this net get? I'm feeling this way about the Charlie Kirk investigation. A lot of people are going to get swept up in this investigation, perhaps the same people that are going to get swept up in the January 6th. And it's not going to be this left or right story, right? Now, much more is going to come out. I'm not here to cover all of January 6th and what they have been unpacking. More will come out in the coming days. What we do know is, like I said, this was a 5-year investigation. It involved forensic analysis. A CIA spokeswoman, Liz Lyons, stated that Shawnee Kirkuff, the alleged person who dropped off these pipe bombs, worked in Capitol Police campus security. She lives in Alexandria, Virginia. She is apparently now under the watch of law enforcement officers because the Blaze News editor-in-chief decided to pull up to her house to just kind of see if any action was happening at her home. And then he instantly got stopped by local police before they allowed him to leave. Now, surprise, surprise, I think it's always the feds. And we might be being ruled by criminals. Like, I don't know, Jeffrey Epstein who?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
We're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, Trumpy. Now, if we are allowed to follow this idea that the feds are behind major politically divisive events, then we have to ask ourselves who exactly was behind organizing the Stop the Steal rally event itself. And interestingly enough, on the quote-unquote